then leaves the campus. UVU surveillance then captures him return later. He returns on foot right before the Charlie Kirk event. He's wearing a disguise of sorts. He's wearing a baseball cap, different baseball cap, pulled low. He's got sunglasses on, a different shirt, different pants, but the same Converse shoes. That's all seen in the surveillance.
Tyler Robinson, the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, is scheduled to appear in court. His defense wants to ban media from the courtroom and delay the preliminary hearing.
If there was really nefarious business going on from the prosecution, means the state, and they're covering up all this information, they would not want cameras in the courtroom. They would want to keep prolonging the trial until the trial is null and void. Why would the defense be doing this? Let me give you an insight. Let me give you some insight on this. The defense is doing this because they want to paint a picture of this kid as innocent. They don't want you to see his reactions when some of the trial is going on. Let me tell you something that you need to know about Medicare. Most Medicare agents are not working for you. They're working for their commission. That means they'll push whatever plan that pays them more, even if those plans don't fit your needs. And I don't respect that. What I do respect is Chapter. They make sure that you understand all of your options. They don't hide the downside. They don't rush you. They lay out the pros and the cons, then compare every plan to your specific healthcare needs. Because the goal isn't to sell you something. The goal is to get you the right coverage. One Chapter member, Donna, said her advisor walked her through every option, explained everything clearly, and ended up saving her thousands of dollars, and that's not unusual. Chapter often saves people over $1,000 a year on healthcare costs just by helping them enroll in the right plan for their needs. So if you're on Medicare or you're about to be, don't guess and don't let the government or some agent hustle you. Call Chapter at 646-741-4126 for complete Medicare guidance. That's 646-741-4126. All right, let's get to the first topic here, and that is the Turning Point USA fiasco regarding Erika Kirk and her appearance or lack thereof. Let me play the headlines that we've seen from CBS, and this is why people are radically ridiculous, and that's why I exist, and that's why I have a platform, because I'm here to give you clarity, okay? It says Secret Service determined no credible threats to UGA rally after Erika Kirk's cancellation, sources say. Let me put this in perspective for you, because people love to do the headlines because it's viral and it gets you to click on their articles, and then they show ads to you and then they make money, okay? I know how this stuff works. If you want to be practical about what happens, as a person who runs a security company and who monitors security for high-threat individuals, I'm here to clarify for you that it is irrelevant. It does not disprove anything Erika said or the reality of threats. Let me give you two examples so you can compare and contrast, and then I'm going to articulate very clearly why the security threat was never what people thought it was. So let's start with the first thing. Let me give you another example of this happening. Candace Owens did not go to Charlie Kirk's memorial. She said because there were material threats against her, that's why she did not go to the memorial. Do you know who was at Charlie Kirk's memorial? The President of the United States, the entire cabinet. That was the most secure facility in the entire planet. But the reason why Candace did not go, because she claimed that there was a threat against her life. Where's the threat at? The threat is not at the event. The threat is en route to the event. So the same application is for Erika Kirk. Erika Kirk said there was a material threat against her life. I know how these things work. The threat is not at the event. It was never at the event. It's never a concern at the event. Why? Because if you want to hurt somebody, you're not going to hurt them where Secret Service is present. You're not going to hurt them where it's a secure facility where they're warning people, making sure they don't have guns going in and out the facility. They go after people in transit. That's where the threat happens. The threat is them knowing your location, your route to the airport, from the airport to the venue. That's where the threat level is at. And this is why Erika Kirk more than likely did not show up. You don't have to jump to a conclusion and say, oh, she's a liar. She just made it up. Let me play this and then, or let me say this, and then we'll have Andrew Cover's statement about the topic. But here's one thing that I think people really don't realize. You got to put your thinking cap on. If you were to say Erika Kirk was embarrassed at the crowd size, Why would she be embarrassed at the crowd size? Why would she even care? If the crowd size was so dismal, then J.D. Vance, the vice president with Secret Service and millions of dollars of security, wouldn't have traveled there if the event was a nothing burger. They could have both left the venue and said, look, we're not going to show up, and gave you whatever excuse they wanted to. Why would you think that somehow she's afraid of numbers? Erika Kirk speaks at events where it's a few people in the room. So that's not a logical conclusion in my personal opinion. And whatever else excuse people are making that Erika Kirk really had to do this or that, why does it matter? She can do what she want to do. She told you the reason why, and you don't have to speculate the reason why unless you have unequivocal evidence that it's wrong. But for somebody to say that because there was no threat at the facility, somehow Erika is lying, you don't know nothing about security and you're not genuine. That's point blank, period. Andrew Covey has something to say about it. Let's jump to this real quick. I think I can read it from here. It said, this is an absolute garbage headline by CBS, which didn't even bother to reach out to us for comment. Why wouldn't you reach out to the organization that bear the record of the threat assessment? Okay. I think he goes on to say, of course, there is no issue at the venue. I think he articulates everything that I said. There's no issue at the venue. The threats were related to Erika Kirk's travel, just like I said, not the venue. There are lunatics following her around constantly. In the days leading up to the event, we had to consistently change her itinerary and locations because threats were made against her specifically, and her location was getting doxxed. Since threats were ultimately deemed severe enough that the security said, we cannot guarantee your safety. We recommend that you do more, that you don't move forward with doing the event. When they say to the woman, it says, when they say that to a woman whose husband has been assassinated, you listen. Now, let me just clarify this. I think some of you are smoking crack and you've forgotten the plot. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Somebody shot him with a .30-06 and blew his neck out, and he was bleeding all over the place in front of the world. What in the make you think that his wife is not, the people don't want to kill his wife in the same way as if she don't have legitimate threats on her life? And what make you think that it is worth her risking everything for her to get killed? And then who's going to raise their children? You're not. All you, I love Charlie Kirk people, you ain't going to help her with nothing. You know how I know? What have you done? What have you done? Nothing but talk. You've done nothing to help Charlie Kirk's legacy, nothing to help his wife. You probably haven't called and checked on his kids once. Have you? No, you haven't. So how about you shut the front door and stop making these crazy claims and stop listening to people unless you're a contributing person to Charlie Kirk. It teased me off that people are even talking about this as if they have the moral authority. I know everybody involved in this. And our organization gave almost $500,000 to support her family. So I think I deserve a right to say something about this. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. It's finna get juicy. I just want you to know if this is the beginning. All right, let's get to the next topic. And this is Tyler Robinson's trial. Play the Fox News clip, roll it.
Tyler Robinson, the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, is scheduled to appear in court. His defense wants to ban media from the courtroom and delay the preliminary hearing. Prosecutors are pushing back on both. Josh Ritter, criminal defense attorney and Fox News contributor, joins us from Provo, Utah. Josh, great to have you with us. Thanks for being here. You know, every time you think maybe they're getting close to getting to the meat of this case, it's just a push from the defense for now they want another 6-month delay on procedural things before they even start, right?
No, you make such an excellent point. We have not discussed one shred of evidence in this case yet. All of this argument has been about getting rid of the prosecutors. That failed attempt. Now it's all a over preoccupation with the cameras inside the courtroom. First it was, can he be dressed out in civilian clothing? What can they photograph? Where can the cameras be? And now they want the cameras out of the courtroom entirely. It's a lot of time, a lot of courtroom time and argument being spent on these issues, including today. The entire argument is going to be about the media's effect on the potential bias that jurors may have coming into this case. I'm hoping because the judge is allowing for cameras today that is a precursor that he will allow cameras to remain inside of the courtroom. But with all of this kind of delay, it does seem at this point that it is a tactic to never really get this case off of the ground.
Yeah, at some point, obviously this is a death penalty case, and the judge is walking carefully in terms of not wanting to open any Pandora boxes that might cause a retrial down the road. But what about the right to a speedy trial? At some point, can the prosecution say this is being too bogged down and that is against?
I think that's the summation of the whole topic. They go on to say that Erika Kirk is filed for a speedy trial as a victim in this case on behalf of her husband. But this is what I want people to understand as far as this is concerned. Ask yourself this question. Why would the defense want cameras not in the courtroom? Why is the defense trying to prolong the trial? And for everybody out there thinking it's a conspiracy, ask yourself these questions. If there was really nefarious business going on from the prosecution, means the state, and they're covering up all this information, they would not want cameras in the courtroom. They would want to keep prolonging the trial until the trial is null and void. Why would the defense be doing this? Let me give you an insight. Let me give you some insight on this. The defense is doing this because they want to paint a picture of this kid as innocent. They don't want you to see his reactions when some of the trial is going on. They don't want you to see dad, mom, boyfriend on the stand testifying. They want you to read a text which they know you're never going to read, and they're going to put it deep down in the article and frame it the way they want to. They don't want clips being on social media of actual testimony. And they also want to prolong the case because they're trying to do everything they can to not get him the death penalty. The defense have not come out and said that any of the evidence was not true. They have not contested it. He has not even made a plea. I'm just trying to warn you guys, and I know the world is retarded and stupid right now, and everybody and their mama turning on the people who make the most sense and who are logical to go after people who push conspiracies to make you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. But I'm here to tell you that if you have a question about this, that's fine. We live in America. Do your research. Ask yourself the question, why are they doing this if they are on the up and up, and they're not trying to do anything nefarious? This kid is dead to rights. These transgender activists and these trans adjacent people are insane. I don't know how y'all don't get that at this point. I remember seeing a video just the other day where a trans person came into a store and hit a dude in the face with an axe. Like, these people are crazy. And it's not that they're crazy because they're trans. They're crazy because they're taking these medications and they're turning into zombies. And they already have a mental illness that they don't address. You're just putting stank on you're just putting paper towels over poo-poo. You got to pick it up and do something with it. You can't just lay a towel over it, spray some potpourri on it. That's what they're doing to these people, and they're going crazier and crazier. And they're shooting up schools. They're doing all kind of stuff. They would do more if they could, but they can't.